What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Panthers Advice. Today, man, we got to talk about Jaycee Horn contract situation update, what's going on there. And on top of that, we got to talk about why him actually being fully healthy this season means more than you think. You know, the last few seasons he's been hurt, but this season, him playing healthy, starting a personal best, means a little bit more than you might think. Next, on top of that, we got a Panthers reporter calling out a Panthers player. Panthers player responds talking about he's in the showers, or he has to know there's a lot going on there too. And then did the Panthers find a replacement / substitute for Jonathan Brooks to back up Chubba Hubbard, man? Let's jump into the video. So first up, we got to talk about Jaycee Horn real quick. Talk about that whole mess, what's going on right there. So despite giving up the most touchdown passes in the league in 2024, it appears that the Carolina Panthers are content with Mike Jackson and Jaycee Horn. So they want to keep that duo intact, all right? So perhaps more significantly, the team is looking to secure a long-term deal with the defender coming off his best season while earning his first Pro Bowl invitation, Mr. Jaycee Horn. Now, 4-year pro, Jaycee Horn was not the only first cornerback drafted in 2021, but he was the first defensive player selected in that draft too. Now, at first I was shocked that Jaycee Horn made his first Pro Bowl, and I was like, oh wait, he's been injured the last few years. So congrats to him, but let's keep it going. He came into his own this past season despite Carolina Panthers' horrific defensive performance. Horn played and started a personal best 15 games. He finished 5th on the team with 68 tackles. Horn also totaled a pair of sacks, 1 interception. So, not bad. Let's keep it going, though, because you know what they say, money talks, all right? Money man knows that money talks. Now, Horn is set to play for or make almost $12.5 million. However, okay, if they were to do that, they're playing a game of risk. And what do I mean by that? Well, the market, like it says right here, is due for an explosion because Derek Stingley and Sauce are going to basically get new contracts. And if they get new contracts, that's going to basically set the new market. So here's the reality, okay? Let's say Jaycee Horn hypothetically plays for 12.5. If he gets hurt this next season, then we don't have to necessarily worry about the market, right? Because I don't think the Panthers will sign him. But if he plays like he did this past season, that's going to run them a little bit more money, a little bit more pesos, if you know what I'm saying. So what does that mean long term? Well, look at the Bengals, okay? They could have signed T. Higgins this year, but they didn't. Why? Because now they have to sign Jamar Chase. If they would have just signed Jamar Chase, right, then they could have signed T. Higgins. Now, unfortunately, that means the Panthers aren't getting him because the Bengals have now franchised T. Higgins twice in a row, which tells me they don't know what they're doing up there in Cincinnati. Okay, same thing with Dak Prescott. You think Jerry Jones wanted to pay Dak Prescott that money? No, but because they waited, the market grew, and that's what Dak was worth. So if you believe in Jaycee Horn, pay him now. Otherwise, you waiting is going to screw up the franchise for the next 2 to 3 years if you don't pay him. All right, so let me know your thoughts on that. Now, with all that being said, you know, it says right here, Morgan isn't one to sit on his hands. And that article basically goes over, they took care of Chubba Hubbard. They took care of Derek Brown. You would like to believe that the front office with Dan, Dave, and Brandt, all right, even Tepper, because Tepper is the one who's got the checkbook, they're going to take care of Jaycee Horn. Because if you don't, we're going to be in some trouble. Now, you could say, you know, Horn only had 1 interception this past year. You can make that argument, but at the same time, how many times were they targeting him compared to everybody else? Obviously, most teams want to stay away from Jaycee Horn. So basically, he takes away a quarter, he takes away a half sometimes. And with that being said, the other thing to look at is this right here. I want you guys to look at the highlighted category. All right, that is sacks. And you're like, okay, why are we looking at sacks when we're talking about Jaycee Horn? Where is Jaycee Horn on this list? He's not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. He's 6th. He is 6th when it comes to sacks on the Panthers. And he was 1 away from being top 5. Here's the crazy part about this, is that Avero really didn't start blitzing him until really the latter half of the season, right? So towards the last 4 or 5 games, give or take, right? Could be a little bit farther back. That's when he started blitzing Jaycee Horn, and here's the reason for that. When you blitz Jaycee Horn, okay, your number 1 corner is blitzing, so now the number 2 corner has to pick up the number 1 receiver. The number 3 corner now has to pick up the number 2 receiver. Your number 4 corner now has to pick up the slot guy, give or take, depending on mismatches and matchups and things like that. They couldn't blitz Jaycee Horn, but Avero was like, screw it. You know how many times he blitzed a safety, a defensive back, and none of them ever got pressure? I mean, look, here's the list. Linebacker, defensive tackle, end tackle, linebacker. No other cornerback got a sack except for Jaycee Horn. Now, I know some of you guys are like, I mean, what does that really say? It means that we need some help in the secondary. There's no reason that Jaycee Horn should be the only one with a sack, considering how much Avero especially blitzed the DBs late in the season. That tells you also how good Jaycee Horn is. Another thing I want to touch on before we move on is this right here. We know Jaycee Horn has been injured these past few seasons. The reason I'm shocked he actually played a full season is because if you look at the first half of the season, the team was going nowhere, right? Jaycee Horn's like, okay, final year, I'm out, bro. Because everyone plays hurt. It's just how hurt are you? He stuck around. Now, you could play devil's advocate and say, okay, I get that, but if he were to get hurt again, he's not going to get a big contract anywhere else. That's true, but at the same time, why put yourself through 8 or 9 more games with a team like this right here, right? The Panthers, they were going nowhere. So props to Jaycee Horn. He stuck around. He didn't wimp out, right? He played the whole season, personal best 15 games, and he wants to come back and be a Carolina Panther. To me, that says a lot. Now let's talk about our next kind of touchy subject. Let's get into it. So our next story gets interesting. All right, it says right here, basically an unexpected twist. Carolina Panthers center Austin Corbett has denied allegations made by ESPN reporter David Newton, who suggested that Corbett wanted to play for a team with no competition. Let's take a look at what Newton says right here. David Newton, known for his coverage of the Panthers, reported that Corbett was seeking a situation where competition for playing time wouldn't be a factor. The claim came amid an offseason full of speculation about the Panthers lineup, leading fans to question Corbett's loyalty. Now here's the thing. Corbett's going to respond. But how does he respond? He responds with some heat. He said David Newton claims he needs to be in our locker room when we're getting out of practice / showers to know us on a personal level and share our stories. Yet after 3 years together, he doesn't know a thing about. Woo, boy, let's talk about this real quick. So I go back and forth on this. I'm like, okay, I get it, being a journalist, you got to report on certain things, this, and the third, especially if you're a freelance or you have your own business. That's just what journalists do. But here's the thing about David Newton. To me, he's like the Skip Bayless of journalism. I'm not saying that Skip didn't do journalism, but that's what David Newton comes across to me. If you do a press conference, I mean, you can do any press conference from the Panthers for the past, 2 years especially, when the team's been bad. You do a press conference. You put everything in a transcript. All right? You don't put any names next to the questions from the reporter. You just put reporter. You're going to find David Newton's question. You won't see David Newton's name next to it, but you're going to know which question was asked by David Newton. And that's the problem I have right here, because Corbett says right here, David Newton claims he needs to be in our locker room when we're getting out of practice or shower. So if you're going to make, a claim, well, we need to be in there to get to know them on a personal level, and then you go and spew things like this, you kind of lose credibility to me. And normally I go 50-50 journalist versus player, but all you have to do is listen to the press conference that David attends. And he's just looking for a reaction. Now, could part of this be true? Absolutely. Absolutely could be true. But did he take it out of context? Right? Did he take it out of context and put it in a way to make it seem like Corbett wants to do this? right? Were there other words attached? And to me, that feels like something David Newton would do, considering some of the questions or statements he's made at the press conference. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at a couple things real quick. One, Corbett's void date has been pushed back. All right, it's to March 11th. So next Tuesday, we're going to find out, give or take, if the Panthers figure out a deal with him. The other thing to look at is this right here. All right, Corbett suffered an ACL tear in 2022. Corbett has an MCL injury in 2023. And then Corbett this past year had a bicep tear, ended his whole season. So here's the thing. People seem to like Christensen more, but they think he's going to go somewhere else and get paid. Corbett isn't as much as a fan favorite, but he does bring versatility. However, he also does kind of bring injury prone as well, which seems to fit the Panthers' MO. Now, all jokes aside, all right, this past year, Corbett, he played center. All right, you got Andy Dalton throwing a bomb right there to Deontay Johnson. And then last year, you got Corbett right here playing right guard. So while you may or may not be a fan of him, he definitely brings you versatility on the offensive line, which is huge. He can go in there at right guard, left guard, and or center need be. The last subject on today's video is the Panthers potentially finding a substitute for Brooks or replacement / backup for Chubba Hubbard, man. That is Cam Scadaboo right here. This dude, he's going to shock you, okay? So this past year, 293 carries. 293. Unless ESPN has a typo, 293. That's a lot of carries. 1,700 yards, 45 catches, 600 yards receiving. If you're like, okay, who is Cam Scadaboo? Just watch. Just watch this right here. I promise I won't let you down. This dude's old school. We don't see runners like this anymore. The amount of tackles that this dude breaks, and he's just a beast. To me, this fits. I mean, look at this. Woo! Man, those legs don't ever stop moving. But back to the topic. This fits exactly what Dan and Dave are looking for. And if you look at these teams he's going against, this isn't some Division I, AA, Division II. I mean, these are legit teams he's going against. I mean, this dude's a dog. When they say they want a dog, this dude, he's just a beast. So, how would he fit hypothetically if the Panthers drafted him? All right, you got Chubba Hubbard. He's going to start. Brooks, coming off the ACL tear, we don't know when he's going to be back. Miles Sanders, we'll see what happens there. All right, 2 more years left. Do they restructure his contract? Do they try and trade, but then you take a cap hit? You got Raheem, who's a restricted free agent, which means teams can offer him a contract or money, but the Panthers have the ability to match it. And then you got Mike Boone, who's a free agent, but I think Mike Boone will be back. So, to me, this looks like an opening for somebody like Cam Scadaboo to come in and potentially play running back 2, running back 3. I mean, the dude's a dog. So, that being said, let me know your thoughts. Jaycee Horn, Mike Jackson, are you okay with that cornerback duo 1 and 2? You know, Corbett, Christensen, who do you want there? And then backups for Chubba Hubbard. Is Cam Scadaboo good to you guys? Do you guys want to see somebody else? Let me know your thoughts. That's going to wrap it up. Panthers Vice is out. I'll catch you on the next one, baby. Go Panthers.